Hey guys, before we get into today's Spawn Origin video, we were flown out by WB to go to Final Combat, the big championship in which they announced Spawn being included into Mortal Kombat 11. So we wanted to take a moment to make you aware that Mortal Kombat 11 is going to have Spawn in the game on March 17th for Combat Pack owners, and you can get them a la carte on March 24th. They're also coming out with some cool skins and stuff like that as a part of the Combat Pack, but I got to play a little bit of Spawn, and between his guns and using the Hellspawn suit and mass murdering things, I had a blast with them. So I just wanted to take a moment to let you guys know Spawn is coming out March 17th to Mortal Kombat 11, but let's go ahead and get into the history of Spawn. Welcome to Spawn, right here at Comicstorian. My name is Benny and I'll be your narrator for today. Now, before we can go into possibly doing the Spawn comic books, we have to look at the origins of this character. Spawn is a character that has been around since the 90s, and he's had over 300 issues since then. So today we're going to give you the origin of Spawn, and then we're going to look through the wiki to see what happened all the way up to issue 300, to give you guys a full synopsis of what happened with Spawn. And then let me know in the comments down below which of those stories you want us to cover more deeply, I would assume. If you want more Spawn, though, you need to let me know by giving this video a like and subscribing to our channel. And let's begin. Pale moonlight shines down upon the city. Deep in the shadows, a figure hides. I don't belong. Not here. Not now. The bet was rigged. He made me believe. There's darkness in my soul. I want to die. Again. The storm clouds roll in quickly, and the night sky suddenly is illuminated by flashes of lightning, revealing a cloaked figure standing amongst the rooftops. But I chose to come back. Why? Across the city, the news reports the day's events. Services were held today for Lieutenant Colonel Al Simmons in Arlington Cemetery in Virginia. The woman continues her report telling of Simmons' career in the Marine Corps and how he saved the president's life. His wife, Wanda Blake, remained quiet for the duration of the funeral, but seemed to help near the end of the proceedings. The reporter finishes. The news changes and a man begins to spin ideas of conspiracy theories surrounding what Simmons did for the US government and the reasons behind his death. Darkness, once more. Images flashing through his mind. Walking with a woman in the park. I remember there was someone to love. A bearded man in a suit. Someone to hate. A soldier with a gun. The US flag waving and the soldier running through the war zone. I was something special. And proud of it for a time. Then they turned on me. He turned on me. A skull opens its mouth to scream noiselessly. Fire, death. I remember dying. But a woman is there, and she is smiling. She is so beautiful, and a demon stands before him smiling. I needed it too. He gave. I had to. Then there's a fire again, but this is the fire of his new life as he screams in pain as it rips through his body, and Spawn stands over the city looking out into the night. Damn his lies. He accepted the deal on his terms, his rules, his way. He curses. He knows he came back and he was given power, but he robbed me of my memories. I can't even remember her face. A handful of images dart through my brain, and that's it. That's all I have in my life. His cloak flaps and drifts in the wind as if it were alive. I'm going to find her, and then I'm going to have my answers. I'm going to find him, the one who framed me. Elsewhere in the city, two detectives stand over the body of a slain mobster. One detective tapping his cigarette, dispelling the growing ash in the air. All right, Twitch, let's try this one more time. You're telling me that somebody threw Carlo Giamatti out of a window? Through the window, sir. Through a window on the 34th floor. 44th, sir. And he wasn't killed by the fall. Sam finally finishes, his partner Twitch nodding. No, sir. It was a heart attack. Heart failure? Sam adds. You could say that, sir. It was removed. It was stuffed in his mouth. Sam nods, going over the fact that they have 3 dead hitmen in the last 48 hours. It's a hell of a town, Twitch. Sam nods, taking another drag off his cigarette. Yes, sir. Spawn turns on the rooftops, voices reaching his ears. Boys, looks like she's got enough for all of us. Fortunately, I get first dibs. A thug calls out, but Spawn leaps lower, his cloak flapping behind him. No, please don't, the young woman screams as the gang of young thugs grab her. I got an idea. Let's see how loud she could scream when I cut out her tongue. One of them laughs, pulling out a knife as another tears at her shirt. Spawn lands in the alleyway, a brooding figure of death. Get out now! or you're all dead, he snarls. The thugs step back, stunned by the newcomer, but the knife wielder steps forward, claiming that he's going to carve up a super. Spawn lashes out, grabbing the man by the throat in his vice-like grip. He turns, throwing the man through a nearby window, shattering the glass with his frail body. Bad idea, Spawn hisses, as he turns back to the others, motioning with his hand. Who's next? He asks, and one of the thugs steps up angry. You crazy! Nobody jerks me around! He snaps, and strange energy begins to glow from the tip of Spawn's finger. Frat boy, you're way out of your league, he tells him, with energy shooting through the alleyway, exploding as it strikes the man. The rest of the thugs turn, running towards the street, and Spawn steps forward, stopping as the woman runs in fear. They're gone. You don't need to be afraid, he tells her, and then he stops as images begin to flood his mind and a scream tears from his lips. The woman's face again, his own funeral, her tears falling onto the casket. When he snaps back to his body, he's fallen, and the woman is cradling him in her arms. It's okay, you're all right. It's all over now, she tells him, trying to soothe his frightened breath. It is later as Spawn steps through the alleyways of the city, frightening the rodents that call the shadows home. She's my wife. I have a wife, Spawn thinks to himself, but he can't remember anything else. He curses himself for letting his mercenary instincts take over for the last few days, for letting the costume and the cape affect what he's doing. But everything is different. He knows it's been 5 years since his death. I know I'm alive. I just can't feel it. He hisses, ripping the mask off his face, but something feels wrong with his face. He pulls off one of his gloves, shocked as he looks down at the rotting flesh on his hand. Jesus, what am I? He cries, with tears filling his eyes as he falls amongst the garbage of the alleyway. What am I? He repeats in a whisper. But somewhere in time and space, a deep, evil laughter is echoing the halls of eternity. Simmons, if you think you have problems now, I promise your troubles have just begun. The demon laughs. Now, we were first introduced to the character of Spawn in May of 1992. What would follow is a long career and history of that character, which is still going on to this day. When Al Simmons returned to Earth as the Hellspawn, after his deal with the demon Melbogia, his memories were not intact. Spawn would realize that it had been 5 years since his death, and slowly his memories would return. Though still fragmented, he would use his old CIA contacts to track down his wife. He discovers, though, that in the 5 years since his death, his wife Wanda fell in love with his best friend. Terry and the two were married, having a daughter named Cyan. Though he was a creature of hell, Spawn would spend his early history acting as an anti-hero within the city. His adventures brought him against serial killers, the mob, and he met some of his early villains, such as Overkill. He would take up residence in Rat City, where he would claim the territory and protect the homeless that call the place home. He also met with Cagliostro, who would act as a mentor and conscience for Spawn in his early adventures. The flip side to this was the Violator, a demon disguised on Earth as the world's worst clown. Violator would act as the devil on Simmons' shoulder, pushing him to use his powers for evil. While his early adventures saw Spawn dealing with more street-level issues, he did begin to run up against the forces of heaven and hell. He met and fought the Redeemer, which was heaven's answer to the Hellspawn, and the Redeemer was actually Jason Wynn, Simmons' former boss and the man who had him murdered. Wynn took the role of Heaven's Redeemer, but was too evil to fully use its power. Spawn would also go on to face Angela, an angelic hunter from heaven who faces against Hellspawn. Eventually, the Angel would become the ally of Spawn's, and she would prove to be quite popular, but due to legal reasons, she would be removed from Spawn's universe and end up in the Marvel universe, where she's now featured as Thor and Loki's long-lost sister. Spawn would then go on to fight the second Redeemer and be defeated, sending his body into a sort of coma. But Spawn would evolve, his armor transforming, and he would become more powerful, defeating the Redeemer in their second confrontation. Now Spawn's armor was able to shift and adjust to any situation, almost becoming a living weapon. But Spawn would have no time to rest, coming up against Freak, who had used his powers to control nightmares to torture Spawn. Spawn also learns that with his suit's new powers, he must now feed off of souls. He began to search for a way to reclaim his humanity and release him from Hell's grasp, and so he would battle against the forces of above and below, and is eventually approached by Heap, a being that speaks for Purgatory. Now, Purgatory's power matches that of Heaven and Hell, and they are sick of the constant fighting and destruction that Heaven and Hell bring to their world. The Heap uses Spawn's new powers of the elements and the ability to hear the world speak. Spawn must use these new powers to stop Urizen, a dark being who is cutting a path of destruction across the world. He then uses his new powers to contain the dark god within the world. Spawn learns that the demon Malbogia, who started all of this, was actually responsible for Urizen's release, and with the dark god's defeat, the demon is weakened. Allying himself with Angela, Spawn traveled to Hell intent on destroying the demon who took his soul. And while the two destroy Malbogia, Angela is killed in the battle. Spawn is offered Malbogia's crown in Hell but declines, deciding instead to return to Earth and fight against humanity's suffering. But while back on Earth, Spawn speaks with his old mentor, Cogliostra, and the man suggests that Spawn accept the crown of Hell and make it into a paradise for humanity. Spawn is tricked though, and Cogliostra reveals that he is in fact the first murderer, Cain. Cain takes the crown of Hell, returns Simmons to Earth reborn and as a Hellspawn no longer. Returning to Earth, Simmons wanders for a while until he meets Nyx, a witch. With her aid, he regains the Hellspawn suit, though he no longer has the level of power and control he once did. It is the demon Mammon, who is revealed to be one of the fallen angels, that regains control over Spawn and his suit, returning him to the Hellspawn status that he deserves, and taking his memories once more. Basically, fresh resetting Spawn. Yet, the Green World works with Spawn to help him regain his memories and better control over the suit again, which eventually leads to him having further control over it. Yet, Spawn is attacked by the Disciple, another warrior from heaven, who tears free Spawn's heart, dropping it into the Green World. The heart becomes a human boy who helps rescue Spawn after he is captured by Mammon once more. Spawn then learns that Armageddon is fast approaching and he has to stop that. It turns out that Wanda's twin children are the ones responsible for Armageddon, as it turns out that they are the god and devil reborn on Earth. It is shown that a being known as Mother, who created everything, is disappointed with her two children and sent them to be reborn on Earth. She warns Spawn that only he can overcome both heaven and hell and that Armageddon is Earth's destiny. To prove that he can save the human race, Spawn travels to the Garden of Eden to eat of the forbidden fruit, working alongside Cyan, Wanda's daughter. There, he must fight against the 12 disciples of heaven. He eventually faces off with each disciple until only Judas remains. When Cyan tells Spawn not to kill Judas, the disciple kills him. Mother appears, feeding the forbidden fruit to the dead Spawn, resurrecting him, appearing now with angels' wings and a power equal to that of God and the devil. Spawn returns to Earth, where he discovers that all of humanity is possessed by angels and demons. He faces off against the Queen of Seraphim, defeating her and keeping her head as a trophy. He must next face against both the armies of heaven and hell, but he is now too powerful, destroying them all. With Earth now a barren wasteland, only Spawn, God, and Satan remain. Mother appears, returning God and the devil to their full power, and together they wipe Spawn from existence, and once more return to their endless battle. However, it is revealed that Spawn recreated the Earth and humanity with his new powers. He left God and Satan on a barren wasteland where their endless fight could no longer affect humanity. Spawn then uses the last of his power to close off the portals to Earth, locking it away from both heaven and hell. He then asks Mother to take away his power, returning him to Earth once more as Al Simmons, hoping to reclaim his life. Yet memories persist of the monster that Simmons was in life, and of him causing Wanda to have a miscarriage. So once again, he becomes a Hellspawn, living once more in Rat City. He would then continue to fight the forces of evil, trying to shield humanity from the worst of it, while continuing to fight his own growing rage and resentment. He would face off against the Queen of the Seraphim, who was now immortal and possessed one of Spawn's allies to try and kill him, and he would also learn that his family had other dealings with Mammon, and his mother had made a deal to create a powerful Hellspawn. From Father, Simmons learns that an ancestor of his had a run-in with the gunslinger Spawn of the Old West. Mammon continues to work against Spawn, using something that is so crazy in spelling that I will never be able to pronounce it. So we're going to call it the Vry, to bite Spawn and cause the disease to transfer to the Hellspawn suit, which becomes more powerful, taking control of Simmons' mind. Cyan sees dreams of Spawn murdering her mother, and when he arrives on her doorstep, she sends him into a dreamlike state so that he can speak with Wanda non-violently. Spawn admits that he is unable to move past Wanda, and she tells him that she is unable to forgive him for what he did to her and her child, though she still loves him. But Mammon appears, informing them that he has been working with their unborn child to create the perfect Hellspawn. So Spawn searches for a way to take control once again of his own life. For a time, he traverses a hellscape, searching for redemption, and eventually he returns to our dimension, finding the spot where he first arrived on Earth as a Hellspawn. Gathering his energy, he uses it to kill himself. Yet, Spawn would be resurrected again, returning to the land of the living, where he discovers that Wanda has been killed in his absence and is trapped in hell. He's also learned that the memories of him hurting her and killing their unborn child were false, planted in his mind in order to control him. Traveling to hell, he faces off against Satan, rescues Wanda, and sends her soul to heaven. And once more on Earth, he fights to protect humanity from both heaven and hell. So Spawn's history is crazy long, isn't it, guys? Now, if you want me to cover any portion of that or just pick up at 300 and move on, do the next portions of it, let me know in the comments down below. I wouldn't mind covering some Spawn comics here. The big reason why I never covered the Spawn comics is not because I'm not a fan. It's because of the fact that Spawn is a little bit more mature than we're used to here at the channel. But I think Batman Damned kind of proved you guys kind of want some of that more mature content. So we'll go a little beyond PG-13. We won't go all the way to R. I'm still going to censor out stuff that would make it an R rating. But I hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Go ahead over to our Patreon, patreon.com/Comicstorian, where you can get early access to all of our videos. And thank you so much for your support. I'll see you guys next time right here.